I call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Leah, can we have roll call, please?
George Kay. Here. Srinivasa Chalikanda. Genevieve Corse. Here. Ritu Goel. James Hennessy.
Present.
Michael Kelly.
Here.
Kristen Kozkowski. Here. Toby Lewis. William Nowak.
Here.
Renee Powell.
Here.
Miguel Proano. Dan Resende. And present Molly Keys, Leah Margelloni, and Erica Evans.
Okay, first order is minutes. Do I have a motion for approval?
Motion to approve.
Go ahead. Second. Thank you. Minutes are approved. Public input? So no public input at this point. Report of council liaison. Erica?
Thank you. I did just first want to mention, since we just went through roll call, that we might have to update that because I know Ritu has resigned as of a few months ago. I'm not sure, don't think the position is filled, but I feel like there was another name that was added recently. I would have to check, but we might want to look at updating the membership. I don't really have anything specific. I do want to mention the COVID memorial is completed and we are pending an opening ceremony for it, and sometime, hopefully after the holidays, I would think it's sometime in January. That is at Major Michael Donnelly Preserve. Also, I was asked just to kind of mention to the commission that the Strategic Planning and Quad Board is working on their strategic planning survey. And their question for the commission is, if there were two questions, I know that this commission's working on its own survey, but if there were two questions or two things that might be included in the strategic planning survey, do you know what that might be? And maybe that's something that you don't have an answer for in the moment tonight, but maybe it's something that we could kind of address for the next meeting if there's no definitive thoughts on that tonight.
Any thoughts, anyone? Maybe we'll think about it and come back next meeting and think about the two questions. When would you need it, Erica?
I think by next meeting would be appropriate. They're starting to work with a group out of UConn. Molly probably knows more about this than I do. The strategic planning, for anyone who doesn't know, is they're looking at China, kind of the overall vision and planning for the community, for the town of South Windsor and what that might look like. It's kind of like the Park and Rec's master plan that we work on, but it's a broader spectrum. So it's looking at bigger pieces of the town. So thinking what Park and Rec's vision and plan for itself might be, what questions would the commission want to include in that survey? But I think the next meeting would be fine.
Okay. Okay. Moving on to report of BOE. Lisa, I do not see Lisa here. Special reports? None? Okay. Report of open space task force, George?
No, we didn't have a meeting. It was canceled.
Okay. Report of Parks and Rec from our director?
All right, good evening, everyone. So we did not meet in November, so I'm going to kind of give an update based on the last few months, not just this past month. We've been very busy. As you know, you transition from summer all the way into kind of fall cleanup, and then we had to shut everything down facilities-wise for the winter. So the parks crew has been extremely busy in conjunction with Public Works. They were doing the LEAF program for a while. They still have to do some finalizing with that as well. And then as of Monday, they turned into snow, so doing some snow removal. So we've been extremely busy with that kind of stuff, but on top of it, they've been doing a lot of projects, such as kind of making sure that our dams are mowed, because we had to get them inspected in November. They had to winterize all of our irrigation systems. They were finalizing and finishing up the COVID Memorial Project. They have been preparing the John J. Mitchell Fairground. We wanted to bring electricity into there, so we're doing some prep work for it. So we've cut down some trees, pulling some stumps, and building a pad for a shed. We don't have the full funding yet for that project, so we're kind of piecing it together and prepping it. They had to clean up the gardens as well, because we had to winterize that space. And they were able to install memorial benches the last couple months. They mowed about 125 acres of open space. We did that once the frost started, so we wouldn't disturb the pollinators, so we kind of wait a little bit on that project. And then they also have been a huge help with setting up not only our fall decorations, but all of our holiday decorations around town. As you see, our big Christmas tree, for example. Buckland Islands, we've kind of decorated a little bit as well. So that's kind of the park side of stuff. And I know that they're going to be...
Molly, can I ask a question?
Yep.
So the electricity into the fairgrounds, do we know when that project?
So we want that to be like an overall, like bringing all of the utilities to the fairgrounds as a capital project, hopefully, at some point. But we did get some donations from ESI in terms of an electrical shed. So that is how we're able to kind of start that project. So I don't have a definite answer, but we're hopeful within the next year we can have that full utilities over there. Long term, we would like to even have a pavilion over there because it makes it a true fairground, and then we can host larger events and have that capacity to do so.
Hey, Molly, I'm just curious, would that interrupt with the shed and all, and placement and running of the, I guess there'll be outlets in different areas? Will that upset the cricket ground?
Yes and no. We also have plans to move cricket, so it shouldn't disturb, because we want to be able to move them prior to finalizing moving the utilities. We find that they need a dedicated space, and we keep interrupting them already with events, so it's not really fair that they get interrupted every other weekend. And obviously we want them to be able to participate in a sport, so we're looking to relocate them to another field space, because we can do that without going out to capital projects. We can fund that. And then in terms of our going on to CIP, we're going to be installing the lights at Rye Street that we got the funding for. Originally, we were waiting because soccer club was going to donate some extra funds to add additional lighting. They have pulled out of that just due to some different projects that they want to accomplish as a club. So we're going to collaborate with them on some other potential projects, but we're going to move forward with just putting the new lights that are more efficient over at Rye Street. So we'll be doing that, and we'll be ready for our softball league in the summer. So it'll be nice. And in terms of programming, our farmers market, if any of you have attended, we're doing the winter market for 4 weeks this winter. We have our next and last one for the season this Saturday. But we've had over 25 vendors each week. They even had a visitor from Santa Claus. They've had a toy drive. So they've done a lot of stuff within the market, which has been really nice. It's also supporting local. So if you have the opportunity, please go check it out for the last one. And then in terms of 4th R and preschool, 4th R has been, busy, and they've been having a great time per usual. And they have a vacation camp program coming up, I think the following week of the holidays. So that's going to be like their first time they're having like a little break for a little bit. But we're still full with 4th R. Preschool, session A is wrapped up. Session B began November 15th, and all 10 classes for our 3 to 5-year-olds and all 3 classes for our parent-child are full. And 5 of our 9 2-year-old classes are full as well. So that's really good for us. All of our sports are doing well. Right now we are completely in basketball season, and it's going to be a great season. But with that being said, so we've had the basketball evaluation days, and that was back November 5th and 12th, and that kind of gave us the opportunity to see our junior, immediate, advanced, and senior division players, kind of make sure that we're placing them in the appropriate categories. And then we had a coaching clinic that was run by Wins for Life, and that was helping prepare our coaches for the upcoming season. And then we, again, had another event for basketball, and that was our coaches draft. So they were able to get their teams coordinated as practices start this week. We're on to the third day of practice. So we're really in full swing. We have 50 teams this year, which is more than what we had last year. And we're really excited for that. You're good.
Molly,
and
can I
yeah.
ask you, the coaches clinic that's run by Wins for Life, is that required for the youth coaches to attend?
Nope, it's not a requirement right now. It's a nice thing to have, and we should.
Well, reason I think it's, I attended, I'm coaching a youth basketball team this year. I thought it was fantastic, and I would suggest I think it's valuable for all of the coaches to go through, so I just thought some consideration might be for having everybody attend at least once, not necessarily every year, because I know coaches continue, but at least if they're going to do any coaching, to have attended once, I thought might be good. So,
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that it was a good experience, and thank you for coaching. We're excited to have you. In terms of our gym space, we've really done a great job maxing out the use of Whopping during the week as well. So we've been doing adult open gym for pickleball, volleyball, throw ball now as well, which is awesome. And then we're also doing a family open gym. We actually just had, I think we have one more. So we have one more, but we just had one tonight. And I know one week we had 25 kids there of all different ages, and they were kind of putting on a scrimmage together, which was super nice. It was informal. Tonight we still had a handful of family members coming together and just kind of shooting some hoops, playing games. It was a nice way to get the youth to connect and not have such a formal program. So it's nice. We just have a variety of things going on in the gym. We also have futsal going on in there one night as well. We've been doing a lot of events as well. Turkey Trot, we had our third annual one. Probably, I think it was about 200 people attended, and that was really awesome. We got the food and fuel bank donations, and then we had the Veterans Day ceremony, and we had 86 members of the community attend that event. And then we just had Grinchmas 2 weeks ago, and there was about 450 people that attended that event. And it was just a nice little event where the kids got to see the Grinch, hang out, do some Grinchy activities. And then this past weekend, we also had Skate with Santa. We had 100 skaters, and we collected 69 toys for the Adopt a Child program through that event. So we've been just doing a lot of really fun things, and we're excited to keep on going. Oh, and to last note, we did have our staff attend the CRPA annual conference November 21st to 22nd, and they had the opportunity to network with 300 professionals, and they got to engage in educational sessions to further their development. So we're really excited to see what they bring back into our programs and to our department overall. Well, thank you. Sorry, that was a lot of information, but it's just been 2 months of it.
Any questions for Molly?
Molly, a question on the basketball program. In years past, with such a popular program, you didn't have enough courts to play on, and you had to go outside the school system into places like Nomads and pay for that, I assume. Do you have sufficient space now to have all your teams play and practice?
That's a hard question to answer because we never have enough gym space. We're just really good at navigating the schedule, I would say now, in terms of making sure that we can fit in everyone. But because our program's so large, we just can't guarantee that this age group's gonna always play at this time, or you're always, you know what I mean? It's not gonna be always like 3 o'clock or 6 o'clock every single Saturday. It has to be an ebb and flow kind of deal to navigate the schedule, but we prefer not to go outside the town's facilities just because of the cost and liability, and we wanna keep the program within the town, so we're making it work. It'd be
Within,
nice
within
to
the
have.
schools, we're making it, right?
Yeah, it'd be nice to
Good.
have a couple more gyms, but, you know, that'll come in time.
Thank you, Molly. Next on the agenda is discussion topics, master plan. Within your package, you have an Excel file that has information that comes right out of our master plan. I actually don't know what the action was for this meeting in regard to this. What, do you recall? Were we going to go over?
Yep, so chapter 3 of the master plan, I believe it was hyperlinked in the last few emails as well. That kind of had all of our surveys that went out, as well as the focus group questions and kind of the purpose behind it. I didn't want to reprint it out because it's a large document, and I know that most people should have a copy of it, and it's on the hyperlink. But we do have this printed out because it kind of goes on from the results of our surveys. This was the projects that we put forth. And that kind of was our guide through the master plan. I did bring a copy of it in case anyone wanted to look at the survey questions again, and kind of discuss the redirection of them.
Molly, I know there was potentially some other things that are not on the list. Is there anything that you want to discuss that's not on this list?
Yeah, so I do know that's one of the reasons why we want to redevelop surveys and focus groups, right? So we can get a pulse on the community and what they need project-wise. I do know that we have all these awesome facilities and amenities, and right now a lot of the stuff in terms of capital or our master plan projects really have to go towards maintenance. And whether that's replacing playgrounds, rebuilding them, adding them on, making improvements to our trails, as well as improvements to our facilities, so just a little bit more accessible for people of different abilities as well. And then again, we didn't have the utilities up at the fairgrounds because it wasn't necessarily a need when we were doing this in 2014, that it is become a need now. So things change, and that's why I think it is really important to kind of go back out to the community to also get a gauge of what are we missing and what projects have we not hit yet.
And looking at the list, everything, I believe, with check marks is being worked?
Everything with check boxes that are check marked have been completed, yep.
Oh, completed. I should have read the top.
So as you look at, there's nothing there for 21, 22, is that because we haven't put it on there yet? Or was that such a lean year that there's nothing to put in there?
Yeah, so this was the last projects that were put forth on the master plan. So I think, again, we could continue to add on it based on the results of the current master plan, but I think that we kind of have to do our due diligence and go back out to the community instead of taking just what we want as a department as well. Because that's really the purpose of community recreations, to gauge what the community needs. It is hard because we know there are projects to be done, right, that aren't on this list, but
And should I assume that the cost estimate was the cost estimate at the time?
correct. Yeah, so half
Meaning
of
that
that's
the number
not,
from 2004 is no good? Okay.
2004 money.
I mean, even the number from 2019, 2020 is not accurate anymore.
No, I know. I was just thinking disc golf seemed like a good investment at $10,000, but that was 10 years ago.
Yeah, so we do have the disc golf equipment now, so we're gonna be able to actually install that in the spring, which is really nice, and we're excited for that.
Where's that gonna go, Molly?
We're still looking at a couple different spots. I know Lawrence Road we were looking at, just someplace that's not Nevers, essentially, because we want to be able to attract people to a different park.
Okay. Is there anything that we should do as a committee to, maybe for next month, to look at this? Any changes or any additions? Is that what we're looking to do?
I guess as far as if we're going to do a survey of some, some form or fashion, I'm assuming we're probably gonna wanna touch on a lot of the stuff that we did of the last survey, but maybe more pointed, more specific, more updated. What's the ideal timing in your eyes for having a survey to the public? So maybe we can kind of start there and then work backwards and have a timeline that we can work on?
Sorry, can you repeat that? What's our ideal what?
Like when would you like to have a survey to the public?
The sooner the better, right? I mean, ideally, if we think about it, we only have 5 more meetings until the summer, and the summer really capitalizes opportunities to get out to families. It would have been nice to get a survey out on one of our brochures, but we could always do that for the fall brochure, but start the legwork for the summer, so that way we could gauge the public at a variety of our programs and events.
Okay.
So that's
and
about June.
June, okay.
And eventually, we have some dollars that you're going to tell us about in a future meeting about how much we have. Therefore, we can prioritize which one of these should be next. Or
Correct. Yeah. We're going to be meeting with Capital to discuss what the budget's going to look like for the next year as well, which will be helpful because I know we still have some of our older projects on the list on the docket. So we're meeting with the committee within the next month or two and figuring out that new process of how we're going to be able to come up with the capital projects.
Was there anything, so I'm looking at, looks like there was an online survey. Was that the main?
They did online surveys. I know they did surveys at like Little League and a few other events as well. I think a blend would be beneficial. It's always, I know that digital is easy and you can get out to people, but I also think just having those honest conversations and just really connecting with the public, we're going to get some, actual responses. But it's not necessarily just going to Little League or just going to soccer, because we know the answers are going to be geared towards the population there. So it's really trying to get to our larger events as well.
Right, so I mean, I feel like we should have one set of questions
Yes.
that are going to everybody, right? We're not looking
Yep.
at sub.
Yeah, I agree. I think it should be
questioning.
one set of questions, and whether it's hybrid versions, right, so the digital and the in-person, I think that we can make both work.
Okay, and was there any analysis or kind of historical context as far as what went well with the surveys that were done in the past, or what, whether the questions that we asked or the way we asked them, is there any information that we can work with there?
I don't know as the committee if there was any discussion based on the surveys. That was way before my time. I'm just looking at it from a aerial point of view as well.
yeah, I mean, we did review the data, and like you said, Molly, we had an event at Little League. I think it was opening day, where we have a lot of people, and so it did kind of sway a little of the answer, right? Because of fields and stuff like that. Obviously, the kids are at that age, and they were looking for that. I thought we did it at Farmers Market too.
Yes, back when it
And-
was in front of the community center, correct?
Lacrosse. We tried to do any kind of big event, but and we just looked at the data as far as common answers and came up with, we put stuff in the master plan based on it, but I don't know if there was much more to do. Maybe there's some other events that, thinking about it now, that we get more of a diverse type of input from the community, more than just the sports side. I think there was a lot of sports, and it was not on purpose. We were looking for events.
There's a local festival that time of year, without describing it in more detail, isn't there, in June? Isn't that in
Is
June?
there? Oh, yes, okay, so, okay. Are you saying to use that?
No, I'm saying we can use any local event to try to move the survey results and try to get as representative of a sample, so we certainly can figure that.
Yeah. I think we'd have to, we should think about, I think going out digitally to everybody, and we said, part of the magazine we send out. I mean, that is going to reach the most of the people in our community, and therefore we would have all different opinions of what's important to different people. Because what I'm afraid of is we'll start going to other things, but we'll not include this, and so I don't have a good answer, but I think we should come up with the different venues that we are going to go to and make sure that it encompasses, you know, the demographic of our community, like the young, the older, who may not care about fields as much and looking for other things. And so maybe we should think about that, like what events, maybe you could help us with the events, and maybe we'll say, yeah, let's do these 6 events and put a booth out like we did at Little League and all the others. Just a thought.
Farmers market. I mean,
Farmers
if you're
market,
doing
of
it in the
course.
fall, you could put it into the farmers market, put a booth, and I don't know, tech savvy you want to be with QR code, people can just come up and fill out.
And I'm guessing we'll use this new data in place of the data, because the data we had, how old is that, George? When did we do that, 6, 7 years ago?
2018.
Here's 2018 is what
I
we
don't even
have.
remember it being 2008. That was the digital.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was 2014 was the other ones, right?
Yeah, so it's quite old. Yeah. So we really should take another shot at it 8 years later and get input from the community.
I know there was a survey done like that at the concerts in the summer. That was a few years ago. I remember people coming around asking.
That's a good place too. The concerts would be a good place. I mean, there's other people besides South Windsor there. There's, you know, there's from everywhere going to those concerts, but. All right.
so I guess first we kind of need to decide what we're asking, and I don't know if we want, we do meet in January, right?
Can I clarify? Are you looking for the commission to create this survey? Or is this something
Yes, that's a good place to start.
is this something that your department is doing? Would it make sense to create a subcommittee from the commission to help create the survey?
Yeah, I believe that since the master plan was driven by the commission, that it's only appropriate, right, that they come up with some survey questions in conjunction with our department, because again, you know, as Michael alluded to earlier, that our department's right on boots on the ground, so they kind of know what's going on, and kind of seeing what's going on in terms of trends as well. So I think their input's valid, and it would help us move forward in terms of creating an adequate survey. I don't know if I think a subcommittee might be beneficial, because then we can kind of just get work done.
Because I wonder if you took a few members of this commission, as long as it doesn't meet a quorum, you could hold a meeting without, you know, and then it wouldn't be a Park and Rec Commission meeting, and you took some members of your department to create a subcommittee to develop the survey, which could be brought back to the commission.
For approval, yeah.
For approval to be put out.
Yeah, that makes sense. Molly, can I ask this for the entire committee? Is it possible that you have what the questions were, and then we can share them with everybody, and maybe give us a list of events that are going to happen, so that when we do get together, we could talk about here at the commission. We'll talk about which ones we believe we should, maybe all of them, but we can pick amongst ourselves. And but I'd like to see I can't remember the questions that goes back so far. But it'd be nice to start and look at that, and maybe we adjust from there,
Yeah, I mean.
since we have
so-
a baseline.
Right, the master plan, it has kind of the different assessments, public interest surveys, the online survey. It looks like there were some focus groups, so it seems like we probably need to spend some time going back to this. And then coming up with what we think are going to be the most necessary questions.
Right.
And like you said, in conjunction with your department, because they're obviously gonna be hands-on with that. I think maybe a subcommittee is not a bad idea, because I do think there's gonna need to be work in between these monthly meetings for us to really make progress on it, unless we want to, you know, a week before our next meeting, everyone kind of compiles questions that we think are important so that we have them for the next meeting to discuss. I don't know, if a subcommittee makes sense, then.
Do we have to do anything other than make a motion to create a subcommittee? So I'll make a motion to create a subcommittee.
Seconded?
Okay, well, how does that work now? Do we create it right now?
So I think maybe like if you had a discussion about what that subcommittee might look like, and then you would all need to vote in favor or against it.
So I heard the proposal is to have a subcommittee that will be both the Parks Department and the Commission to come up with potential survey questions and maybe venues to go ask these questions at, or we would need, you're thinking 3 and 3?
Yeah, I agree. I think three members of the commission as part of the subcommittee would make sense. So, any other?
Do I have any
any other-
volunteers?
Thanks.
Genevieve, we have one. Anybody else? I'd be happy to join you.
Cool. Sounds good.
And then, so we have 2. And how does it actually work, Molly? How do we start this? Is it, who's going to lead it? Is it one of us, or how do we get together?
We can discuss, I can send out an email, we can discuss a time, and we can meet at the Parks and Rec building.
Okay.
Yeah. I can send out like a doodle or something, just to figure out some times.
Yeah.
Okay, so we could use one more if somebody wants at a later time, but so far it's us 2. Send it out to us, and we'll come meet with you.
I think we have to act on the motion.
Oh, my apologies. All in favor of having a subcommittee? Say aye.
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 All opposed? My apologies, I'm not used to sitting in this very important seat.
Great.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thanks,
So just to
James.
be clear, we've identified 2 members of the subcommittee, and we're gonna ask for volunteers for a third in time for the next meeting. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
There's individuals who aren't here who may want to join.
Yeah, I would agree.
Do you think 3 people from your department, does that make sense to you? I mean,
Yeah, I will attend myself, and I can get 2 more. I'm sure I can get 2 more from our department that would commit to it.
Do you think we need 3? Well, 3 from us makes sense. 1 from you, if you thought somebody could lead it, it would probably be fine.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'll be in attendance, but I would ask one of my staff as well, so I'll gauge an interest based on that.
Okay, that sounds good.
cool.
All right. Any other questions in regard to the master plan?
Does the master plan include where the rec center is going to end up and its future, or is that something that's happening subsequent to that? Or am
Well,
I
we're
treading in
still-
water that I shouldn't be?
Yeah, I mean, we are, for the temporary time being, going to Old Orchard Hill. We do have that facilities committee that was tasked at trying to figure out next steps for the Parks and Rec Department. At this time, we are not moving forward with a new space and I think that once we have a survey and kind of get some gauge the interest of the community based on what we put out, that's going to help aid that facilities committee to move forward with what's the best practice for our department. So I think this is going to help out with our programming, with our facility, and also with what's driving us for our goals and for our capital projects. So it's a very big beneficial project that we're going to be undertaking.
Okay.
I was only going to add to what Molly said, exactly that. Like, I think what'll be important is to factor into the survey the future of the Parks and Rec Department. So there may be some components that want to be included that might not have previously been included in the master plan, and I think it'll be interesting to see what the community's interest is going forward for our Parks and Rec facilities, because as they are in Orchard Hill right now, it is truly a temporary place. Unless we're willing to invest in that space and bring it up to code, ADA compliance and other issues with the building, it is not a permanent home for our Parks Department.
And I think it's also important that if we do a really good job with this survey and we really hear from a lot of people, we know that whatever we do next is going to cost money. And the more that we have to back up the reasons we need to ask for that money, I think the better off we'll be.
And I understand that'll be in our survey, and I hate to jump back to what you asked before, but would that be something of a question that we'd want in the survey that you talked about also? Would people be willing to look at a referendum? Is that a question that would go in?
I think the subcommittee will have to decide that, won't they?
What was it?
What's that?
I didn't hear you say.
No, I said that he's asking what kind of survey questions. I said that that's the work of the subcommittee.
No, the subcommittee, we could ask that question. I was going back to the original one that Erica was saying that we're looking for 2 questions out of this organization.
Oh, I got you. That's
Would that be an appropriate type of question in your survey to see if people are willing to have a referendum? Because, right, $5 million, or is that 2020 numbers?
Yeah, it's like
better,
70 million.
no matter what decision, I think it would have to go to
I was
referendum
like,
based on the amount.
5 million, we might get it.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
But how do people feel about it? I guess that
Yeah, so I
was my
think
head.
the wording of it, like what investment does the town want to make in the future of the Recs Department?
Right.
Is probably more along the lines, because I think no matter what, we're looking at a referendum, whether it's fixing up Old Orchard Hill, whether it's a new facility, whether it's something completely different, we are looking at a referendum for that in the future.
Okay. Any other discussion on the master plan? Okay.
One quick one.
Yeah.
I mean, in our master plan on page 123 and 124, it goes over where we did a lot of these surveys in 2014. But it also, on 124, it tells you the biggest percentage of priorities were like synthetic fields back then. But also the number 1 was indoor pool, which would be part of a rec department, or rec center.
I think everyone to my left probably has this binder, right? I think everyone to my right probably does not have this binder. I know I have one at home that I'm willing to pass on to one of you. I don't know if we could maybe get a few more for.
We can make additional copies at the office.
Everyone, yeah.
Oh, you do have them.
Yeah, we
Kristen does not have one.
Okay, moving on. Other business, South Windsor Walk-in Wheelway, bylaw approval?
So in the meeting packets, we have their bylaws. They've been meeting to have official bylaws as a subcommittee, just so that way we kind of are following what we're supposed to be doing for committees and commissions. So they have put forth their own bylaws, and they want us to approve it as a subcommittee, because they are our subcommittee. They've worked really hard on this document, kind of following along with a little bit of our bylaws, along with their kind of vision and mission as well. So if anyone wants to approve or make any adjustments to it.
Is this a revision to something that existed already, or is this a brand-new document for them?
They had no bylaws.
We didn't have bylaws. And actually, this was from a direct from the town council, correct? Or they wanted to have some sort of bylaws for the subcommittees.
From the town, yes.
Yeah, okay. So they didn't have one before this, so they kind of copied part of our bylaws.
Yes.
So it's basically just to have a legit way to direct their meetings.
Correct, in a way that they're actually conducting their meetings overall, because they do a lot of awesome work, but it's more informal, so we wanted to make sure they were following the processes they were supposed to.
Correct.
Like meeting a quorum, taking some meeting minutes, stuff like that.
How many members are in that subcommittee?
There's a good amount.
There's probably 20 different members, but
mean-
that was another reason, because you'll have meetings with only 6 people.
Right.
So when you have to vote on something, do you need a quorum of the 20, which means we never could vote on anything?
Oh, okay, so it's okay to have, because here it says 5 members, is that
I think that's what they're
unacceptable?
trying to figure out, if they're gonna vote on stuff.
Right, so we put
Have a
in,
minimum
under
requirement.
meetings, section 2, we put the quorum shall be 5 members, because that's about average, so we put that on there. Like, they do have a larger base, they have like 20, 25, because they do the huge volunteer portions with the learn to ride, the moonlight walks, all of that stuff, so they have people that will go out and do the community events, but not everyone comes to the meetings.
So there's no rule about 50%, almost like what we did, right? We need 6 because that was,
Well, the other thing is, when it started, there are members that were not from town that did a lot of work, actually, to get their not to get their bylaws, but to get their master plan started. We had some people from Glastonbury, and we had a guy from the Connecticut, Bike Walk Connecticut. So this kind of like clarifies who's gonna be an actual member and who can just show up and talk and
okay.
like that.
Is this something that's needed imminently? I'm just curious, has our town attorney reviewed this?
No, they just wanted to see if we liked how it was written before they took the next step of coming back to myself at the Walk and Wheelways.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious how the quorum factor would sit
Yeah,
with the town attorney.
yeah, I didn't notice that they put 5. I do know that like 5 is their baseline, right, to meet a quorum, but I think the wording of that could be adjusted.
I have a question. It says, talking about the meetings, that they're held at 7 PM at the South Windsor Parks and Rec Department, but it doesn't say like when. Is it like every second Tuesday, every fourth Thursday?
It says
Thank you.
Wednesdays. So we're not looking to approve this at this point. What I believe, does everybody accept the format and the general writing of the South Windsor Walk and Wheelway? Is everybody okay with what they're attempting to present? And we'll wait for the town attorney to go through this and make sure everything's okay?
Yes, do you need a motion to approve what we have, or no?
Just more of a discussion.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there's no,
good to me.
no reason for anything.
Yep.
So, our opinion back to them, if any, is that this looks good to go as far as for the next step.
Yep, I'll provide them the feedback in terms of the quorum as well.
Yep. All right.
I don't know.
Is there any other discussions?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I heard a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nice gavel, man. That was pretty good. That was a good one. The gavel, man.